Hi, I'm Chip Redmond. I've been with Transworld Business Advisors here in Orlando, Florida for just over 5 years. Originally from upstate New York. I came down to Orlando with a company I was currently working with. I had a chance to move up through the company, stay in the company's backyard, and move down to Florida in my 20s. So I chose Florida in my 20s. I've always been a partial owner of a couple of companies. So 5 or 10% ownership changed my mindset along the way to ownership. So I was constantly looking to buy my own. And as I was talking to a few business brokers, I realized that this was kind of a neat angle for me to be able to still be involved in the buying and selling process, but not actually own my own. It's kind of that, we're a turning point in people's lives. We kind of forget about that sometimes. Being that benchmark moment, it's kind of a thrill to me to be a part of that for someone. Some people are buying a business for the first time and it's kind of creating a income and growth for their families, and others are looking to retire and then kind of go into their glory days. So to be a part of those benchmark moments for me is actually pretty cool. One of my memorable moments actually wasn't even that close with a client. I kind of like the little guy story, the underdog story. And I had a mobile pet grooming business that I sold. It only sold for 50 grand. Really wasn't, in our world, not that big of a deal. But the head groomer in the business is the one that we actually put in place to buy the business. So the seller was okay with seller financing, and it was one of those, hey, we were able to take an employee and move them into buying their own business and set them up with a career beyond just being an employee. So to me, that was actually pretty cool. For me, I'm not going to pick just one local business, but I would say we live in Orlando. We're the land of the franchise restaurants and the franchise everythings. So for me, mom and pop and local is important when I'm picking and choosing. It's pretty easy to go to the national chains everywhere in town. It's a little harder to find mom and pop. I'm actually a long distance runner. So marathons is kind of one of my things that I like to do. So being the little short, I'm not going to say overweight guy, but a little on the husky side, does surprise people that I can do half and full marathons. Have yourself financially prepared way above and beyond what you think you're going to be. The worst thing that we see as brokers is people not financially prepared to make the move that they want to make. I am actually an exact example of that. I got into this because I had a decent chunk of change. It was under 100,000. And I wasn't financially prepared to buy the business that I wanted to buy. So one of the things that I like to do is just make sure that people understand truly the financial burden that they're heading down. If you think you need 100,000, you really need 300,000 at times. So it's more of kind of over preparing on the financial side, because you never know what you're gonna need for the startup and to get through those early days. What they want to do next. There's nothing worse than some of these guys not knowing what the next phase is. If they don't know what their next phase is, they really maybe shouldn't be taking that step and moving on from what they're doing, because they're going to regret it, or they're not going to want to work all the way through the whole process. If they know they want to retire, they know that, hey, I'm going to go do this, or hey, I'm going to move off and my wife has a plan here. They really need a set plan. Otherwise, without that, it kind of gets tough for us. They usually know when it's too late. It's usually, past that point. We usually kind of reach people when we call them the 5Ds, but it's usually one of those things where it's a little too late, a little too far. They missed their window. Very rarely do people catch the window right at the right time, because again, the right time might have been when you're in your 40s having your construction business, but when you're 62, it might have been on the decline, and you might have kind of let things kind of fall by the wayside and sort of flail over the last few years. Honestly, for me, so I come from the food industry. I have a restaurant management background. The foodie actual side of Orlando is amazing. The Michelin star restaurants that are here. I enjoy the actual restaurant side and the cuisine and stuff that Orlando has. It's actually pretty neat. Again, going beyond the chains. I probably would have gone down the road which was owning my own business and doing my own thing. And even now, I still consider that me as a broker, I'm still running my own business within this corporate structure. So it's, once you're sort of an entrepreneur, you're always an entrepreneur. So that's, I still would be doing some version of my own thing. That's a tough one. It varies based on what my kids are doing. And right now we're into lacrosse, so I think lacrosse is pretty cool, but I didn't know diddle about lacrosse until about a year and a half ago. Favorite professional sports team? That would be the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I do enjoy football with the kids. I like going to see sporting events in person, and that's the one that we can get to here out of Orlando these days. To stay humble, and to know that you don't always know everything, that you have to educate yourself, and it's okay to say you don't know and that you don't know everything. The minute you think you do, you're in trouble. So I kind of like the whole stay humble, be simple, and don't be afraid to educate yourself any given day. My email is chip@tworld.com. My cell is 321-299-6867. And of course, the wonderful world of social media is always an easy one to just Google me.